September 9th, 1943, Salerno, Italy. The air vibrates with the roar of engines. The sea churns beneath a fleet of 450 ships. Explosions rip the darkness. Men leap into the surf, bullets snapping overhead. The sand is slick with blood and salt. The fate of the Allied invasion hangs by a thread. If the beachhead fails, the road to Rome slams shut. How do the Allies survive when every plan unravels, when the enemy closes in? The Mediterranean dawns gray and tense. Allied hopes ride high after victories in North Africa and Sicily. Yet, as ships gather off Salerno, uncertainty gnaws at every commander. The Germans, battered but unbroken, wait behind fortified lines. The stakes are clear: a foothold on the European continent, the collapse of Mussolini's regime, and the opening of a new front against Hitler's armies. Allied leaders have argued for months. Roosevelt wants to build for the cross-channel invasion. Churchill pushes for Mediterranean action. Stalin demands relief for his embattled Red Army. The compromise is this: strike at Italy, force her out of the war, and draw German divisions away from Russia and France. The plan is bold, but the risks are immense. Eisenhower's staff weighs every option. Should the Allies push through Corsica and Sardinia into France, or drive up the Italian peninsula, tying down German forces and seizing airfields for the coming air war? The decision lands on Salerno, a 20-mile stretch of beach, flanked by mountains, within range of Allied fighters, but exposed to enemy fire from the heights. The terrain is unforgiving. Steep riverbanks split the plain. The slopes of Mount Vesuvius loom, offering the enemy perfect vantage points. The beaches near Naples are too dangerous, so Salerno becomes the chosen ground. The Germans, under Field Marshal Kesselring, brace for attack, their divisions reinforced by veterans from Sicily. Defensive lines snake across the hills, bunkers and mines waiting for the invaders. 0430, September 9th. The first waves hit the shore. U.S. Rangers and British commandos land in darkness, moving swiftly to seize mountain passes. The British 10th Corps lands under a storm of naval gunfire, fighting for every yard. The untested U.S. 36th Infantry Division wades ashore, hoping for surprise. Instead, they meet machine guns and mortars. The sand erupts in chaos. Men scramble for cover, dragging wounded comrades from the surf. German tanks counterattack at dawn. 15 panzers roll toward the beachhead, their engines growling. Allied artillery, naval guns, and engineers respond with desperate fury. The tanks burn, but the cost is high. Artillery and armor are slow to land, leaving infantry exposed. In the confusion, small units face enemy armor with little more than rifles and grenades. Determination and raw courage push them forward. By nightfall, the Allies hold a fragile grip on the plain. The British 10th Corps advances 3 miles inland, capturing the Montecorvino airfield. The U.S. 6th Corps pushes 5 miles, but the Celia River divides the forces. Each corps fights in isolation, contact minimal, the threat of counterattack ever present. The Germans regroup, their resolve hardening. September 10th. Kesselring orders the 16th Panzer Division to block the British advance. The mountains echo with gunfire. The British struggle against stubborn resistance, while the Americans consolidate their beachhead. Clark, the 5th Army commander, worries about the separation between his corps. He narrows the British zone, stretching the Americans thin. The 36th Division now defends a 35-mile front. German reinforcements pour in. The Hermann Göring and 15th Panzer Grenadier Divisions strike the British. The 26th and 29th Panzer Grenadier and 16th Panzer Divisions hammered the Americans. On September 13th, the Germans break through, overrunning a battalion and threatening the Allied rear. Panic flickers. Clark's staff begins planning for evacuation. The beachhead teeters on the edge of disaster. Now, the physics becomes the enemy. Artillery duels shake the ground. Tanks and tank destroyers pour shot after shot into advancing Germans. The Calore River becomes a killing ground. By nightfall, the German assault falters. The Allies cling to their positions, battered but unbroken. Reinforcements arrive from the sky. During the night, 1,300 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division drop into the chaos, bolstering the American lines. The next day, 2,100 more land on the beaches. Supplies and fresh troops pour ashore. Allied bombers, diverted from Germany, pound German assembly area. The crisis passes, the beachhead holds, but the cost is staggering. Units are shattered. The 1st Battalion, 142nd Infantry, is reduced to 60 men. The 2nd Battalion, 143rd Infantry, nearly ceases to exist. Mud, exhaustion, and fear grip every survivor. By September 19th, British and American forces link up at Oleta. The Salerno plain is secure, but the price is 3,500 American casualties, 5,500 British, and a similar toll for the Germans. The campaign surges north. Kesselring orders a series of defensive lines, the Barbara, Bernhard, and Gustav lines, each more formidable than the last. The Allies pour men and machines ashore, 190,000 troops, 30,000 vehicles, 120,000 tons of supplies. The port of Naples becomes the next prize. But the Germans, retreating, leave nothing but ruin. Bridges collapse, railroads are torn up, ships scuttle in the harbor. The city is a shell, its people desperate for food and water. October, the British 10th Corps swings north, fighting through the Sorrento hills. German engineers destroy bridges, forcing the Allies to ford rivers under fire and rebuild every crossing. Progress is slow, every mile paid for in blood and sweat. On September 30th, British forces reach the outskirts of Naples. On October 1st, the 82nd Airborne and Derby's Rangers enter the city. 3 days later, British patrols reach the Volturno River. The Germans dig in behind the water, ready for the next stand. The U.S. 6th Corps moves inland, plowing through 60 miles of mountains and valleys. Roads are narrow, streams run deep, and every crossing is contested. Pack mules become lifelines, carrying supplies where trucks cannot go. Mud, rain, and cold sap the men's strength. Yet, through courage and improvisation, the Allies reach the Volturno's south bank by month's end. To the east, Montgomery's 8th Army seizes the Foggia airfields and outflanks German positions with a daring amphibious raid at Termoli. The capture of Foggia is a technical triumph. The airfields, soon swarming with Allied bombers, become launch pads for strikes deep into Germany and the Balkans. But Naples is a city in agony. Allied engineers race to clear mines, repair docks, and restore power. Despite German demolition and relentless air raids, the port reopens within a week. Supplies flow in, but 800,000 Neapolitans depend on the Allies for survival. The scars of war run deep. Mid-October, the Allies face the Volturno and Trigno rivers. The Volturno, swollen and fast, is a natural fortress. Vietenhoff's 14th Panzer Corps, 35,000 strong, waits behind the banks. The 5th Army attacks on October 13th and 14th. Progress is measured in yards. Every crossing is a battle. Mines, machine guns, and hidden bunkers slow the advance. The British 56th Division, repulsed in its sector, attacks through the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division zone, joining the Desert Rats and the U.S. 46th Infantry north of the river. To the east, Montgomery's attacks grind forward. By October 15th, the Germans begin a fighting withdrawal to the Barbara Line. The Allies push forward, but the pace is grueling. In 20 days, across a 40-mile front, they advance only 15 to 20 miles. The Barbara Line falls, but the Bernhard and Gustav lines loom ahead, bristling with 75,000 mines and interlocking bunkers. Exhaustion sets in. With reinforcements drawn away for the coming invasion of France, Clark and Montgomery have no choice but to halt and regroup. As the armies rest, political leaders meet in Moscow, Cairo, and Tehran. The future of the Italian campaign hangs in the balance. Eisenhower is reassigned to lead the cross-channel invasion. Sir Henry Maitland Wilson takes command in the Mediterranean. The Allies agree. Rome is still a prize, but the main effort will shift to France. The Italian front becomes a secondary theater, its resources limited. The weather turns. Torrential rains turn roads to rivers of mud. Tanks bog down, supply lines falter. Montgomery's 8th Army attacks the Winter Line, but progress stalls. The 5th Army faces equally fierce resistance. The British 10th Corps attacks along the Garigliano River, while 2nd Corps assaults Montecamino. Artillery thunders, 75,000 rounds in 48 hours. The 36th Division seizes Monte Sammucro, but cannot clear it. San Pietro becomes a fortress, holding out for over a week. Only after a surprise attack on Monte Lungo do the Germans withdraw, leaving the village in ruins. December, the Allies are battered. The 36th Division loses 1,200 men at San Pietro. Supporting units suffer as well. The weather brings a brief respite, but the new year promises more hardship. Command changes sweep the theater. Wilson replaces Eisenhower. De Vries becomes his deputy. Churchill's drive for Rome is renewed. Plans for an amphibious landing at Anzio are revived, but supplies are thin and shipping scarce. January 1944, the Fifth Army attacks again. The French Expeditionary Corps replaces 6th Corps on the eastern flank. The 1st Special Service Force seizes Monte Maio, holding it against fierce counterattacks. San Vittore falls, followed by Monte Lascita and Monte Porcia. The Germans withdraw behind the Rapido River, their defenses tightening around the Gustav Line. Clark prepares for the final assault. The British 10th Corps crosses the Garigliano on January 17th, braving 24,000 mines and flooded banks. The bridgehead widens, but German reinforcements arrive, stalling the advance. In the center, 2nd Corps faces the Rapido, a swift, muddy barrier overlooked by Monte Cassino. The 36th Infantry Division attacks on January 20th. Boats are destroyed by fire before reaching the water. Mines and artillery cut down the attackers. A handful reach the far bank, only to be isolated and overwhelmed. The next day, the assault repeats. Again, the river runs red. By January 22nd, the survivors swim back or are captured. The division suffers 1,681. The Rapido becomes the Bloody River. Yet, the sacrifice is not in vain. German reinforcements, drawn south, ease the way for the Anzio landings. The Naples-Foggia campaign ends on January 21, 1944. The Allies have paid dearly, but the strategic goals are met. The Mediterranean is secure. Airfields at Foggia launch bombers deep into enemy territory. German divisions are tied down, unable to reinforce France or Russia. Italy, once an Axis power, now fights alongside the Allies. The campaign's legacy is complex. The courage and tenacity of Allied soldiers are beyond question. Yet the cost is high, and the gains, in hindsight, are debated. Greater cooperation and clearer strategy might have saved lives. But the victory at Naples-Foggia shortens the war, weakens Germany, and sets the stage for the liberation of Europe. Epilogue. The battered cities of southern Italy begin to heal. Naples, scarred by war, pulses with new life as supplies flow through its docks. The airfields at Foggia hum with the engines of bombers bound for distant targets. The mountains and rivers that once bled men dry now stand silent, witnesses to sacrifice and endurance. For the soldiers who fought from Salerno to the Rapido, the campaign is a crucible, one that forges resolve, tests alliances, and shapes the destiny of a continent. The lessons of Naples-Foggia echo through history. That victory demands unity, resilience, and the will to endure when hope seems lost.